Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do a really cute little giraffe and it's going to be really simple, kid friendly, all that good stuff. I'm only going to use 3 brushes. So we have a large 1-inch flat brush, a medium sized 1/2 inch flat, or a number 6 bright, something like that will do good. And then a small-ish round brush, something small and round and pointy. I'm using an 8x10 wrapped canvas. I'm using our primary colors plus black and white. So the first thing I'm going to do is make our background, which I'm going to do like a soft turquoise. So I'm going to take some white. I want it to be really light, so it's going to be mostly white. And we're going to have some blue and a little bit of yellow. So there we go. And I'm just going to do some vertical brush strokes with this one. Now, usually I'm going to get the kind of the edges, so a little bit darker. So maybe I'll have a little more blue around the edges and the corners. And then a little lighter towards the center. And notice how if I add a lot of yellow, it'll get more green toned. So maybe I'll have a little bit of parts that look a little more greenish, more heavy on the yellow, but ultimately I want it to be more of a blue-green turquoise color. So, but you can customize and you can do this any color you want. It does not have to be this color. And then once I get the edges pretty dark, what I'm going to do is just, as I go, I'm just going to add white only. That way, when I spread the paint and brush my brush through like this, it will blend and it will make sure that it stays lighter in the center. And you can always go back and add more dark as you do this process. But just grabbing up that white, and then again, I'm brushing it through the center, but I'm pulling it all the way through to blend in with the darker colors around the edges. So it's so fun to do this. And if your paint isn't blending, use a little bit of water mixed into your paint. So in order to do that, you're just taking your brush ever so slightly and just a little bit, and then mix it into your color or your white, whatever you're using. Because what will happen is sometimes when you're layering, if you're not working really quickly, your paint will dry out. So that will make the blending process a little harder. And you might need to either reapply the dark color to blend it with the light color, or add a little bit more moisture to the paints you're working with so that they dry a little slower. And you just got to work with what is happening for you. So even if you have the exact same materials I have, you are a different person, so there's that factor. Notice I can rush it through to blend a bit, but don't do that too much, because notice how the more I do it, the more it all kind of turns into one color. So you don't want to over blend. I like to blend a bit, but not overly. So they're all going to be different because we're all different. And it doesn't matter if you have the same stuff. Sometimes people think, oh, I got to get the exact same thing, and then it's going to look exactly like that. If that's not going to do it, nothing's going to do it, because you're you. So embrace that. Embrace your own unique expression, and you're going to have so much more fun creating that way. Just embracing. But I like to run it all the way through to get any like brush marks out, and it just smooths it out a bit. We'll smooth out here. Right. So I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, as we go into the next step, we don't want it to be way too wet. So you have a couple options. Wait for it to dry, especially if you used pretty thick paint going on, or you can use a blow dryer. So I usually blow dry it if I want my paint to dry, just to make the process a little quicker. All right, so it should be dry. So if you touch it and it still paint comes off onto your hands, blow dry it a little longer, wait a little longer, whatever you're doing. Now for the next step, we're going to move into our medium square brush, and it's a layering process. So be easy with yourself. I don't like to pre-draw for these particular paintings just because we can do it with paint, and we just got to embrace whatever's happening. So I'm using that medium square brush, and I'm just going to start with using white only. I'm going to find the middle of the canvas. So find the middle. And this is where the head is, the bottom of the head or the face is going to be. And what we want to do is create almost like an oval. So maybe it's a little bit pointy at the bottom. So maybe make like a V shape, a loose V or a really wide V. And then once you get a little ways, we really want this to fill up quite a bit of the canvas here. So I'm going to go like pretty good. And then we want to go a little bit more vertically once we get it out about a third of the center. So if I have 1/3, 2/3, and then the whole, dividing the canvas into 3 parts going horizontally, I want to fill in that middle 1/3 roughly. And then we're going to box it in at the top like this. So that's the basic shape. And then we can have at the very top here, you can make 2 little rectangles coming out of the top of the head. And on the top of that, we can make 2 little balls. This is going to change colors. Just think of this as like a sketch. And then on either side of that, we're going to make little like almost like, think of almonds. So you're going to make a rainbow curve and then make a smiley face curve. Just coming out of the side of the top part of this head shape. I'm going to do that on both sides. Notice I'm going pretty far out to the side. And then the neck is going to pull in really much more narrow than the head, so make it skinnier. And then it's going to gradually get a little wider as you come down. So you're going to make it like a big, little bit more narrow, and then it gets wider as we come down to the bottom. All right, and then we can color it in just for a base coat. That way, when we go to add different colors to it, they pop out a little bit more and we're not accidentally blending with the background color. So I do this with character painting sometimes, depending on the background and all of that. And then again, I'm coloring in the face and I'm just doing a thin coat. You don't want to go too crazy. It's just creating our foundation. Right. Now I want that to dry a bit while I do some fun little decorative stuff at the bottom. And this will be many layers that we do. So for the first layer, I want it to be kind of subtle. So it might even blend with the background colors a little bit. What I'm going to do is take that small round brush. Notice how my other brushes are just off to the side in the water so they don't get paint dried on them. And I'm going to use blue with a touch of yellow and a touch of white so that it's not too dark. I want it to be kind of blending in with the background, but it should be a little darker than whatever you have for your background color. And then we're going to practice these fun shapes. So what I'm going to do is pull up, imagine like a tall piece of grass like that, like a vertical line. And I'm just barely dragging the tip of the brush to see how you could swirl the brush in the paint. And then you can come to wherever you're going to add it. And then just really light touch, just grazing the tip of the brush on there. So make a few brush strokes to create some, and then they can bend. They don't have to be perfectly straight. Let's see how I can put that in. So fun. And just do a few on each side to start, and then we can add some leaves to that. So say the first one that I did there. Usually what I'll do is I'll stamp the side of the brush. So you're just stamping it, go to the top, and then just barely touch the tip, and then push harder to get that leaf shape. So I like to do that on either side. Go on the left side, the right side. And just push and pull towards the center. It's almost like a V shape that you're creating, like a pattern. And you can do a few of those. Like you can make them a little smaller. Or bigger. However you want to do it. This just creates the look of some foliage in the background. If you want it to look more subtle, use more white mixed in so that it's like a little bit lighter and not so dark. The dark is going to really stick out. So see how I can just brush over it some light, some more white, and it will soften it into the background a little bit more. So I really do want it to be a softened look for the first layer that we do. But not so soft that you can't see it. Like I just did it a little too soft over here. And now you have like some fun textures that give the like look that, oh, maybe this giraffe is in this like a jungle or something. I don't know. You know, it's fun to use your imagination. Now this part should be like pretty dry by now. If it's not, again, you can always hit it with the blow dryer to make sure. So if you finish up doing this before this gets dry, use the blow dryer. All right, so we're pretty good. We're gonna do some light shades first, and then we'll add some darker shades. So I'm gonna go back to my medium square brush because we're essentially gonna color this in. So clean and dry your medium square brush. And then we're gonna make our first shade, which is gonna be very yellowish, maybe more like, or like a soft peach color. So what I'm gonna do is take a lot of yellow, a little bit of red, and then white as well. Yellow, red, and white. And then I'm going to go ahead and color in the shape. And again, it's going to be layers. So this is just our first shade. And my particular blend here is heavy on the yellow for this layer. Just color it in. I have that all colored in. We want it to dry again. So what we're going to do is again, you could use this blow dryer if you want to just dive into the giraffe, or you can go in and add some more fun details down below. And I love doing this because it just allows you to play. So I'm going to go back to my round brush, and then I'm going to add some stuff down here, maybe like light blue. So I can do blue and white. So now we're going into a different shade. And you can make either, what I might want to do is just add some layers on our first layer to give it some more depth. So maybe just do a little brush stroke over it to give it not such a flat look. Or you can do a different pattern with a different shade or just overlap. So I'll show you that too in a second. So for example, I could take that light blue and I can go ahead and make another line, but this time maybe I make a bigger leaf pattern on top. So it's like really big. It's just painting right over the other ones. So you still see the other stuff in the background. And this begins to create the look of some layers. So you don't have to do that, but it's fun to do it a little bit. So maybe I have something here and I create bigger, different shape plant. And then you can even change your shade a little bit. So maybe you want it a little darker. Just add more blue. And you can add some layers. It's fun to try to shoot to get for getting at least 3 shades in each little piece of the like section that you do. So if I have a light, medium, and dark shade, sometimes that happens by accident just with one brush stroke. If you have a lot of different shades of paint on your brush at the same time because it's not blended all the way. So sometimes that happens by accident, and that's like a very Bob Ross thing. But see how you can add that and it just starts to add a little more depth to it. You could also use the medium square brush and add more to the upper part of the background. So this is so fun. So clean the brush, and then maybe I'm just using the clean medium square brush. And then maybe you want your background to be a little brighter in some spots. So you can get some pure white on it and just add to it. Like maybe I want to brighten up the middle a little bit more. Just add some vertical brush strokes and brighten some parts up. So what happens when we overblend is that we lose our contrast. And if everything looks too flat in your painting, it's just not going to be as interesting to look at. And that's the number one thing I see when I'm teaching is that there's a tendency to make things look really flat because the colors are either overblended or they're not dramatic enough. Like, so your lights aren't bright enough and your darks aren't dark enough. And then that just creates like a really bland look. Now, for example, here too, if we don't like the way this turns out in any way, shape, or form, you could always repaint it. So I like to show this too, because just in case, you could just take that turquoise color that we did from the background and paint over those little leaves. So when people come to my events, I get a lot of panicky kind of reactions sometimes, especially when things don't go as planned. So you go, oh, I'm going to try this leaf pattern, and you think it's going to be good, but then you do it and you're like, I don't know, that didn't really work out. That happens to me all the time, and that's okay. So what you do is you just come in and use that background color and paint over it. And it's going to do is add more depth to your painting, really, because you're adding more layers. So see how I just painted that over? Now we don't have those leaf things anymore. I'll add them back in, but I just want to show you how you can do this. And sometimes just doing it and practicing it and getting it in there is really great. And then you can come back in and go, wait, I want to try that again because I think now I understand how to do it. And I want to do it a little differently or something. And this is the beauty of acrylic painting because it does dry pretty fast and you can paint over, especially when you're using the same color combination. So the colors in the background are the same as the colors of the leaf that we did. And that was intentional on my part so that you could see how easy it is to blend back in when you're using the same color combination to layer. And it's a really good way to learn because a lot of times people think, oh, I'm going to try this new technique or that I've never done before. And then you expect it to be perfect on the first try, but a lot of times it's not. So practicing doing that technique a little bit is super helpful in getting the results you want in the long run. And there's no shame in that. And there is no shame in painting over. That's the fun. That's the fun part about acrylic painting that I always try to get people to utilize, because I don't always get my idea out exactly the way I want it on the first try. And a lot of times I'll paint over things or wipe paint off and redo it. And that's okay. So see how I did that? It's just like, okay, now we have a clean slate and we can add more leaves back in. But just in case you didn't like your first try, I like to show that. And you do want it to be dry before we go. We're going to layer on the draft a little more, then we'll go and add more leaves. All right, let's add some details to the face of the giraffe. Now I'm going to use the round brush for this, the small round brush, and we're going to create some orange. So I'm going to take red and a little bit of yellow. So it's a darker orange. Red and yellow makes orange. It should look darker than the color you have here. So make sure it looks darker. And then we're going to go ahead and add the nose, which is just going to make a little oval right at the bottom of the face. So go ahead and make an oval. You can even make a little heart shape at the top. So think of like an apple. A little M at the top of the shape, and then the rest of it is just like a circle. And then maybe we'll add a little white to it to do these other parts. I want that nose to be really dark. And then what I'm going to do is make a shape in the middle of the face that goes from the little M part in the nose on both sides, and that reaches up and bends over to the outside of these little antennae things. I don't even know what those are for a giraffe. Probably look that up. And then you're going to color in that middle section. And then we can put some shading. So maybe I have this color kind of going on the left side of those little antennae, or like making a little circle underneath the top. A little bit of shading can happen here. Maybe I put a little bit of this color on the underside of the ear, or a little bit like on the top like this, and just a little bit of that. We'll do some pink too. But you can also begin with this color to make some little spots. Like I can make a little spots like this on the giraffe. So we'll do different colors. We're not going for realism today. We're just playing with the fun, whatever we want to see really. And then maybe I want to do some pink. So I'm going to clean the brush and just move into red and white. Now I'm going to put this on the inside of the ears. So I'm making a little mini shape of what we initially did to make that inside the ears. We'll give the giraffe a little bit of blush too, so we can make little cheeks, little cheek marks. And those are going to go kind of low on the face, so just over from the nose. So coming in right here, I can go in and make little cheeks, little rosy cheeks, little circles. And then you can also add some fun spots with pink. Just do a few, don't overdo it. And then maybe I take some of that pink and add a little bit to the nose to create a different shade. So again, even adding a little more white to it and then just going along the top to give it a little highlight is going to help. You don't want it to be just one solid color. So you can always add more red into to make a darker shade and put that towards the bottom. Try to have at least 3 shades on that nose part. You want to have some dark and light. All right. Now we'll go into some like blue or bluish purple. This is going to be one of our shadow colors for the character. So I'm going to keep with that brush. We're using mostly blue with a little bit of red. Make sure it's cleaned off from your other color first. And then we're going to go ahead and you can add some little nose marks. So you're just making little marks in the nose, like so. And then you can make a little smile. So just make sure you twirl the brush in to get a nice point on it. And you can make a little smiley face right towards the bottom. And then our eyes are going to come in as well. If you want your eyes to look a little lighter colored at first, add a little white into the blue. I'm going to do like this violet blue eye color. And we're going to go right between the ear and the cheek, that little rosy cheek on the space right here. And pretty much all the way over to the edge. And then just make a circle. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then you can do maybe the antennae have that color on it. You can do a little bit of that color on the like the top part of the ear, just making a little outline like that. Maybe I use this as a little bit of a shadow under the neck. So you can go underneath and you can make a little shadow just with that blue color. And you can even do some spots with that color if you wanted to. Maybe not too many. So fun. It's coming together. And now we'll use like a darker purple. So I'm going to clean the brush just because I had white on there, but using just the red and blue at about 50-50. This is going to give you a darker color. And we can go in and make our like darker part of the eye. So you can make a little pupil. Towards the top like that. There we go. We can add a little bit of this dark to the antennae, the dark color. So you just want to make sure you have shadows, you know? You can add some of these darker spots. Just a few. And then we can let this dry just a minute. We'll add some fun leaves back in. So again, I'm going to go into that lighter background color, like maybe a little bit of a light blue type thing. We can add a couple of leaf patterns with that light color, little light turquoise. Notice it's going to look a little different my second time doing it. And that's okay. That's part of just that's part of painting. A little bit there, a little bit here. And then maybe we have some different darker colors coming on top of that. So what I can do is use blue with a little bit of red again. But I still want it heavy on the blue, but no white or anything. This creates a pretty dark color. Then I can go in and paint some over like that. You can go any which way you want. See, I can do like heavy with the leaves, or I can make it more sparse. Use your creative desires here. Just whatever you think looks cool is going to be good. And then even some of these leaves can go over the giraffe. Then you can have some flowers on the leaves. So maybe I take my white now. I'm going to clean the brush and go into some white. Or maybe I'll do actually a really light pink. So a little bit of red. A little bit of red. Notice I just put a little bit. It should be very light. Then you can pull in some little flowers. So just making a ring of lines or a ring of dots is going to give you a flower shape. So you can have some of those in there. Like this soft pink on this scene, so I'm going to go with that. But you can do any colors you want. And then you can even add a little bit of more like yellowish orange or the center of the flowers. So play around. It's so cute. Now we want to come in with like even darker colors. So I'm going to do just an itty bit of black. So you can either use black here or the dark purple. I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm going to use black and maybe a little bit of blue mixed in because the blue softens it just a bit. And then we're going to go in and we're going to do just a little more dark on the eyes towards the top. I'm just adding to what's there. Really want that part to be dark. And then we can add like a little bit of an outline to the eye. So just gently outline it. Then we're going to add some eyelashes. Giraffes have really, really big eyelashes, like in real life. Yeah. So we're going to add some little eyelashes coming off. We want those eyelashes to be really cool. And we're almost done. And you can have some coming off the bottom too, little eyelashes. And then if you want to darken up any of your leaves, maybe you want to put some black on some of them just to make them a little darker. It's totally optional. And then you can do some more layers of the pink. So clean your brush in between your colors, but maybe you want to brighten up those flowers a bit. Do that light pink. Again, you can just layer it. You can add more flowers. Maybe you want to do like a big one. I'm going to add like a big one right here, just in the bottom. Another big one right here. The flowers look cool to me, so I'm going to add a couple more because I like it. And you can even have some coming off the edge. It's important to get different sizes. So like a lot of times when people make things, they do it all the same size. And then again, I'm adding like orange to the centers of these. You want to make sure you have different sizes though, like big, medium, and small. Otherwise, it looks weird because the flowers would be, even if they were the same size, they're going to be some will be further away and some will be closer. It's really not make any sense for them to all be the same distance from you. So the size helps with depth as well. And then last but not least, let's just do some pure white highlights here. I'm going to take the small round brush, get it in the white, and we'll go in and add little highlights to the eyes. So go to the top part of the pupil and make a little white dot. I usually do a big one, and then I'll do a little small one next to it. And then you can also add maybe some little white dots around the flowers in the background. Fun. You can even add like a little bit of a highlight towards the top of the ears, just a little pop of light colors, little highlight, little, you can do like little dots on the antennae or something, like a little highlight. You can do a little highlight on the nose, the top of the nose again, a bit, or even just like on top of the nostrils, just a bit. You can always soften it by painting that orange back over that highlight got too big. So don't worry, you can go back and forth, but you want to have some different shades, some highlights. Highlights usually fall on top of things. So if I were to take like a light highlight, I would put it on top of the nose and the mouth. And then again, if it gets too crazy, use the orange. So whatever color you're using to highlight, just come back in with it. And you can clean your brush if you need to, but you can do a little bit of white in there. Maybe we put some little dots on the center of the nose like this. I think that would look cute. Like that. I like that. And just in the background, around the plant. Little dots are fun. You just dip it in the white and poke. And then for those who want to create a little more contrast with the shape of the giraffe, you can outline it in black. This is optional. Maybe you like it the way that it is, but outlining it, and again, you can use like that blue black or the dark purple. I'll do like a purple black, adding red and blue and black together, but you could do just black or just purple or however you want to do it. And then you just create a very light outline. And it doesn't even have to be like solid. This will just help pull it out from the background a little bit. It makes it a little more cartoony. That's okay. It's kind of what we're going for. And then you're outlining your shapes. So the ears, let me get this. But again, it just creates, and you don't have to be a solid line going everywhere. It can be kind of sparse if you want, but it's just going to pull it out. Creates more contrast, but it's optional. We can even put a little contrast line here. So it's very delicate, but notice how it pulled it out a little more and made it a little more visible. So again, with those dark colors, you can add more little designs. You can add some dots with that dark color. Sometimes I do dark dots and light dots. I don't know. It's really fun. You can go on, but I'm going to go ahead and call it done because I'm going over on this one. Usually I try to keep it under 30 minutes, but we're almost about 45 minutes. But this 45 minutes is actually the point at which the painting really drops your stress levels. So 45 minutes of painting is very therapeutic. So if you anything is good. So even if you do 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, that's better than nothing. But when you hit 45 minutes, it really drops you into a relaxed state. So the longer you're in that, the more benefit you're going to get from it. So there you go. We did a cute little baby giraffe. Very fun colors, very simple. And I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you realized how you can mess with it a little bit and not feel like you have to get it on your very first try. Play with it. Be patient with yourself. That's the whole process is about finding your expression and playing. We're just playing. So the more you can do that, the more fun you're going to have, the better your results are going to be. I'm going to call it done. And I just want to thank you for painting with me. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. That just helps me spread the joy of painting, and you get to participate in that too. And I think it just makes everybody a little more relaxed and happy when we have those creative outlets. So again, thanks so much for watching. Have a beautiful rest of your day.